Welcome to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast dedicated to people who want to speak more as a way to build their income and grow their business. Welcome, everyone, to the Wealthy Speaker Podcast. My name is Jane Atkinson. I am the founder of the Wealthy Speaker University, and today's podcast is brought to you. We're doing video, so I can tell you it's brought to you by the Wealthy Speaker Daily Success Planner and Journal. I'm not going to say too much about the journal because I want to get straight to our guest expert, but I do want to let you know that it's really helping people build momentum and string together wins. And personally, I can no longer miss a day, or it just feels like I'm lacking intention. Now, intention is actually something that we're talking about when it comes to delivering the epic keynote. And many of you know the fastest path to moving your fees up the ladder is that epic keynote. And so we're going to talk today about body language. Body language is something that we have to have some clarity around, or we might turn our audience off, or we might really engage our audience quickly, which is what we want to do. And Mark Bowden is back with us today. Welcome, Mark.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me around.
I am so thrilled that you are back, and I'm going to read your bio, but I also want to fill in some of the blanks because there's been some fun things happening in your world. So
Cool.
let me just give the formal, just a little snapshot of it. Mark Bowden is an expert in human behavior and body language and is the creator of Truth Plane. Love that brand. A communication training company and unique methodology for anyone who has to communicate with impact to an audience. Mark's clients include leading business people, teams, and politicians, also presidents, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and prime ministers of G7 powers. See, now that's intriguing, Mark. So let's kind of fill in some of the blanks here. I want to mention you have a best-selling book, Winning Body Language, which is a how-to guide to using your body language to stand out, gain trust, and credibility when speaking. But you have a new book that's actually launching, is it tomorrow, February 6th? There we go. Look at that. Truth and Lies, What People Are Really Thinking. Tell me the last part.
Yeah, what people are really thinking.
What people are really thinking. That's it.
People are really thinking. Alex.
Okay, tell me more about this book. That's very exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah, so what happened is I was asked by a publisher to write a book on reading body language, to which I instantly said, no, I'm not doing that. There's lots out there, and it's fairly good. Some of it's not so good, but there's a lot of really good stuff out there. And I said, and anyway, the secret is you can't actually read body language. It's not a language. It's nothing like language. There's behavior and nonverbal communication. We make assumptions about that, and we feel that our assumptions are very, very accurate and correct, which either they are or they aren't, or something in between. So I said no immediately. And then I thought, no, actually, I should rethink this and think, what would a body language reading book look like if it was a really good one? A really helpful, useful one. And so actually what I wrote is, with Tracy Thompson, co-author on this, is a book on critical thinking disguised as a book on body language. So it does actually give you all the stuff that you want to know about body language and signals and behavior. But actually what it does is put it within a critical thinking structure so that you can think better about thinking about body language. That's really it.
That's so interesting, and I love that we're doing video for this call, because now I'm all of a sudden hyper aware of, okay, well, what am I doing right now? So this is kind of a unique situation for a podcast here.
Well, I'm actually trying not to look at you. Not that it's not great to look at you, but interesting enough, if I actually try and look at you and I was to try and read your body language, you'd get this person here. Who's not so interesting to you and your viewers. What I have over my camera is this little guy here. And so
nice.
it tells me to keep looking, getting my eye contact with that smiley face with the camera, which is just
rather
above
than
you.
me.
There.
Okay, so and I've got a few different situations now. My desk can go out and up and down, and I do notice definitely, and I also notice when I'm trying to film things, that when I talk directly to the camera and not look at a teleprompter, it's so much easier for me, and that's because I feel like I'm connecting with the people, right?
Right. So I'm actually able to pick up at the moment, so I'm looking down the camera, I'm able to pick up in my peripheral vision a lot
Mm,
of your movement, so I can get your rhythm, and I'm hearing your tone of voice at the
right,
moment.
right.
But I'm not really looking at much that's happening in
Okay,
your
good.
face right
That's good. I
now.
don't want you to look.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, some really cool things have been happening over at your end. We said in your bio that you are, I don't think you're allowed to tell us who, but you do some work with some people in the G7, which is
Yeah.
ultra cool. So, politicians, talk about some of the things, some of the work that you're doing. What are you helping them achieve?
Well, just like many of the speakers who are listening to this today, uh, G7 politicians have exactly, G7 leaders, world leaders have some of the same issues in that they're going on in front of an audience, be it one or millions,
Hmm.
and it can cause stress and anxiety. And they worry, how am I going to come across? Am I going to get my message across? They often have brilliant, brilliant writers who I work with
Hmm.
as well in order to get the right messaging. But what they also want is to get across the right message with their behavior, because
Right.
they understand, especially when it comes around to election times, they understand that people are making their choices often at an instinctual level, and then they're reverse engineering as to why the policy is right. But essentially, people make judgments about other human beings based on
Hmm.
their behavior, and we judge politicians around that. And ultimately, we often decide who's going to be our leader based on an instinct rather than a cognitive idea.
Right.
And I help them with that.
It's the same as business. We want to do business with people that we like, know, and trust. And unfortunately, politics has gotten to a place where it's very difficult to have all three of those when we're going to the elections. My husband would have some words about our own prime minister, but I know you're not allowed to talk about whether or not you're helping him. But anyway, we could just say that it seems to me that he does a really good job when he's going on script, and then when he's off script, that's when things tend to. I think he gets a lot of words there that are added to his mix because he's thinking about what to say next. Eyes and ums and
Sure.
things like that drive my husband crazy. So
Sure.
I think
But I
that's
mean,
probably for
he's
most
got
of
the
us,
same
right?
problem there as some speakers are really great on script and they can feel really natural. Sometimes they're not so good.
Mm,
These things can change. You get a great speaker off script and talking about something that they're surprised by, answering a question that they've never answered before, and suddenly they're all
they
over the
light
place
up.
again. Yeah, what I train people in is especially these politicians, is how to have the body language of being calm and assertive, whatever the situation, so they don't get triggered into fight and flight, or if they do get triggered into fight and flight, they're able to experience that, to know what it feels like, and to know the behavior to countermeasure that.
I like it. And we'll talk about calm and assertive in a minute. Tell us what the biggest error most people make around body locks. And by the way, I want to make sure that we mention your TED Talk. People can go to truthplane.com to watch your TED Talk, which will allow us to go even deeper on this. What do you think is one of the biggest errors people make around body language?
Oh yeah, okay. So actually, let me talk about one of those biggest errors, because it's something I talk about a lot in the TED Talk, and it may make people want to go there and listen to it.
Okay.
Here's I think one of the biggest problems is that people think that their behavior should be authentic in order to feel real to an audience, in order to connect with an audience. There's these ideas of, well, you can't do stuff on purpose. It has to be authentic. And they will have many, many examples of speakers or anybody or politicians, and they'll go, look, we didn't like that because it wasn't authentic. Well, here's a little bit of secret. Here's a bit of truth and lies for you, is you have no idea whether anybody's being authentic or not. You have no idea. You're not a mind reader. You
Hmm.
think you are, but I guarantee you, you're not. Usually, when you think somebody's being authentic, you just like them. That's all. When you think they're being
Okay.
inauthentic, you just disliked them and you called it inauthenticity, so you didn't have to make it about you and your dislike. There are people out there who are brilliant performers who can put on behaviors that to you will feel and look really authentic. Why? Because they put on behaviors that you like, that are good for you, that your brain goes, this is a great benefit to me to seeing this person behave like this. I think they're being really authentic.
Okay.
So you can put on behaviors that are to your benefit and to your audience's benefit. And if you do it well, there's doing it badly, which is it'll just look like bad acting, just like there's bad actors out there. Yeah.
Is there?
So, for example,
Yeah, I would love
carry on.
I would love an example. Actually, that's what I was wondering.
Oh, well, let's give you an example of the good example of it. I think you've probably seen Anthony Hopkins in The Silence of the Lambs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, many people have, and if you haven't, it's a scary film. You should watch it.
Yeah.
And people go, well, he's a brilliant actor because, it's very, very real. It's very, very true. It's very, very real. He's really inhabited this extreme psychopath. No, he hasn't. He's doing some behaviors that he saw a reptile do. He's copying some reptilian behaviors. He went to a zoo, he had a look at a reptile, and he went, reptile moves a bit like this. I'll just do that. Because the audience, it will be simple enough and clear enough that the audience will fill it with their own feelings and thoughts, given the circumstances of this.
Right.
So when you see Anthony Hopkins being a psychopath and you go, oh, I feel really bad because that's a real psychopath. He's not, it's you. You're projecting on him. It's your own psychopathy, which you're seeing. That's why it's so horrible. That's why it's so awful to watch, because you're watching yourself in that situation. He went ages ago. He's not there doing it anymore. You're the only living person watching that, in your mind. And anyway, in the beginning, he was just pretending to be a reptile.
All right. So we might be going a little deep with Anthony Hopkins there. That's pretty, reflecting back my own psychopathy is a little more than I wanted to think about at this time of the day. Okay. So
that's what you get when you get me on.
Talk about when I am a professional speaker and I'm hired at whatever the amount might be, and I'm walking out on stage. What is one of the first things that I might want to do if I do the walkout?
Mm-hmm. So look, there's no bad body language, just results that you wanted or didn't want.
Okay.
So I have to ask you, what result are you looking for? What are you trying to get from the audience? What do you want from yourself? And what do you want from your audience? Because your behavior is going to be the biggest indicator of whether you get that or not. So, for example, do you want the audience to open up to you and your ideas? Mm-hmm. Is that what you want? If that's what you want, you need to give them behavior to copy and mirror. So you need to do open behaviors.
Okay.
So I always talk about open body language being the kind of thing that you do when it's a cold day and you've just walked inside and there's a warm fire, open fire in front of you.
Okay.
Yeah? So you do. Actually, let me kind of do some open and closed body language for you.
Okay, good.
Here, if it's a cold day and there's no fire, okay, I will do this kind of stuff. Yeah,
closed.
And I could walk onto it's closed, keeping me warm. And I can walk onto a stage like this, or I can stand like this, on a stage, and I can give you my ideas. But it's very different from me standing on stage like this and giving you ideas, where I'm getting the warmth here and here and here. It's open. And the more open I make it, the more bigger and open I make it.
All right.
Yeah, the more space it's going to fill optically. So I'm now making open palm gestures at navel height in what I call third circle, which means my arms are almost locked out at the joints. Okay. First circle is here, where elements of my body touch elements of the rest of my body. The second circle is I'm away from this area here. Okay. Yeah, but there's a bend in the joints. And third is it's completely open. If I want a big audience to immediately open up to me, I'll do a big gesture like this.
Okay. That's really
totally
good.
expose that area. If I'd like them to close down to me and be skeptical about what I'm saying, then I'll close in.
Show me if you want to get quiet and tell an emotional type of a story, what might that look like in your body language?
Sure. So what I might do, and I'll do it on camera here,
all right,
is lower my voice for a start, because what I'm going to do is make this like we're just having the conversation right now. Okay, so on a stage this might look a little bit different, but let me do it for you now. As I'm getting closer optically to you, I've lowered my voice and I'm making smaller gestures, and I'm trying to get as much intimate eye contact as possible. Again, the opposite of this on a big stage would be to tell you an intimate story, and I'm being big like this with it. Again, what I might want to do is close down the body language slightly. Step into you, lean forward, give you my ear at the same time, and start the behaviors of somebody who might be telling you a secret.
Okay.
Lower my voice. Does that make sense?
I really like that. I really like that a lot. Okay. Talk about, so a lot of my clients are transitioning from, say, stages where they have 100 or 200 people up to the 1,000 people stages. And you know that when you have the two eye mags on either side of you, a lot of times those bright lights can blind you and you can't see the people in the first row. Is there a way from a body language perspective to overcome that? What have you done when you've been on the big stages?
So here's what I do when I'm on the big stages anyway, is when I'm getting mic'd up, usually at the back of the room. Yeah. Often even when it's big stages, I might be at the back, or sometimes I'm behind the eye mags. But there's often a message can be got back, which is, can you give me some house light?
Okay, you're just going to ask for the house lights to rise, especially in the first row,
for sure,
so that you can have some eyeballs on people. And I think that's a great idea. And if they don't want to do it, well, then I think you're going to have to pretend that you can look into people's eyes, right?
Right. If you can't get that, then yes, you need to pick areas of the audience and make up in your imagination that you can see them. Yeah.
And they're smiling.
And that they're having a good time.
Yeah. Like your little fake Post-it note.
Like my little guy here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Is look, I'm actually talking to a bunch of people and they're having a great time during this.
Okay.
But if I can not fake it, essentially, and I can actually just make it, which is by
be personal,
raising the house lights and be personal. I mean, even on big stages, I will try and work out whether I'm able to jump off the stage and move into the audience.
And do you do that on each presentation? Yeah,
for sure. If I can, I mean, if it's dangerous, then no. Even when it's dangerous, sometimes I do. But I'm trying to get intimacy with that audience. Even if it's 7,000 people, I'm trying to get, for some of them, the experience of, this is just me talking with you. It's just a whole bunch of other people went and showed up. And they can enjoy this intimacy for a little moment between me and you, because the camera picks that up. You know, the camera will pick up when I'm having a genuine conversation with an individual.
And you'll give them a heads up of what you're planning to do, and they can follow you with the camera, and the more they're aware of that, the better the shot will be. I've seen lots of great speakers. Some of my clients do that really, really well. Marcus Lemonis, I think, does it really, really well. He really likes a lot of like face-to-face. I don't think he was on the stage hardly at all. What do you think about the combination of upstage and in the audience? Is it just a small amount for you of in the audience?
Well, optically, once I get in the audience, there's an area of me that gets cut off. So I'm trying to show them, I'm my own PowerPoint. So, I'm trying to show them what I'm doing.
Right.
At the same time, there are moments when I want somebody to experience what it's like close up with the body language that I'm doing.
Right.
And for the audience to experience that as well. And so I'm reliant on cameras picking that up as best they can.
Yes.
It's sometimes not perfect, but it's good enough. And as you say, often I'll try and inform them, look, I'm liable to jump in there and get in there. And sometimes I just don't.
The mosh pit.
Wait.
The mosh pit that is our audiences. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk. We've talked about first, second, and third. What about the just other gestures? Are there gestures that are off-putting? Are there gestures that are engaging? Which ones would you say?
Yeah. One of the gestures that people tell me all the time that they get very off-put from in politicians is this one here.
Oh, they're trying to do the Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
He
And
did that
we don't
well.
quite know who it was who told Bill to do this.
Mm-hmm.
We can't track him down anymore.
All
But
right.
just an example of why people find this off-putting is if you're someone who's ever had kids or seen kids grow up, and I ask you, do you remember the first time your child made this gesture? Yeah, undoubtedly you go, no. I mean, I've seen that, and I've seen that, and I've seen that, and I've seen that, and that, but I haven't seen that. And I go, yeah, because it's not a gesture that any human being makes. It has no function. This is non-functional. And therefore, when you put in gestures which are made up and therefore non-functional, your brain doesn't understand it. It understands this. It understands a fist. It understands a point. It understands, a direction here. It understands something being given out to you or suppressed, but it doesn't understand this.
Okay.
So we tend to not like gestures that we do not understand. Other gestures we don't understand are ones that keep changing a lot. So if I just move my fingers and the gestures keep changing, it gets really annoying for you because none of it hangs around long enough and none of it makes any sense. The moment I become symmetrical and clear, you start to listen more carefully to what I'm saying. The moment I start changing these things up, your brain gets heavily confused by it. So we really like gestures which are clear, which are consistent, especially which are symmetrical.
Okay. And we have all heard the pointing thing, ma'am, to point to the audience. Is that a no? I forget what we talked about the last time.
There's no bad body language, just results that you wanted or didn't want.
Okay, so is it about your intention of how you're,
so what is the function of a point?
Right.
The function of the point is for pinpoint targeting.
Right, okay.
So at the moment, I'm targeting something off screen. So at the moment, it won't be aggressive to you. The moment I target you here, my guess is, especially at your eye level, it starts to get aggressive.
You're poking me right between the eyes there.
Right, because you are the target, and I've made it stabbing and aggressive. The moment you are not the target, you calm down.
Okay.
So this will get a certain result, and this will get a certain result.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I want to say, hey, have a look carefully at these numbers here, and this specific number,
right? That's
you'll like the point. You'll like the point.
Right.
If I go, there are some people who are doing this wrong. You're like, me? What are you targeting me for?
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with pointing. There's only just results that you wanted or didn't want. Always. You just think, what's the result that I'm trying to get? And what would be the functional gestures that would most likely get me that result? Do those and don't do others.
I like it. And I really want people to remember intention. What is your intention when you're doing this gesture? And if it comes from a good place and you make a mistake, then it's still coming from a good place. Do you think your audience can feel that?
Right, for sure. If you make your intention trying to help the audience, for example, my guess is that your pointing will become a little more helpful.
Okay.
If you make your intention to scold the audience,
right,
then my guess is your point will become more scolding, just as your open hand would become more scolding.
Right.
If I make my intention,
doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah. If I make my intention to help you right now, it softens what I'm doing with the rest of it. So yes, it often really is about having the right intention and then fitting your gestures on purpose or unconsciously to fit that intention.
All right. And I know that most people would have very particular intentions when it comes to their audiences. Okay, so let's say they've been out there for 15 minutes and they want to look at the audience to see, do I have them? What are they looking for engagement? And what are they looking for signs of disengagement?
Oh, yeah. So that's, here's what I do. Here's my best advice for speakers.
Okay.
Do not read the audience's body language.
Oh.
You'll get it wrong. You'll have no idea.
It
Too
will
many
mess you
people.
up.
Above
Oh.
and beyond. Oh, above and beyond about 12 people. You can't even individualize people anyway. They just start grouping up. So you're just seeing a mass of data, and because you will get your instinct will get confused by it, you'll default to negatives. You'll look out there, and pretty much every signal that you see, which isn't clearly positive, you will make into a negative. So how many times have you looked out at the audience and there's the person there who's doing that?
But
And
maybe they're tweeting something good about you, right? And you
absolutely.
go
But do you think that? You go straight to negative?
They're bored.
That's a classic of body language. When insufficient data, you default to a negative. So you go straight to a negative about, well, they're disrespecting me. They don't like my content. Undoubtedly, it has nothing to do with you. It's another human being. It's got very little. Their behavior has very little to do with you. Yeah, and there's not much you can do about it either. On the whole, I would say what you need to do is get together a speech that you think is really good. You need to get together the ability to deliver it in such a way that you think you're delivering it really well. Yes, you could get better. Yes, the speech could get better, but you're delivering it really well. And you look out at that audience while you're going through that, yeah, and you think to yourself, great, I'm doing the best I can. They have to do their bit as well. Right. So they can engage or disengage. I'm doing my bit to engage them. They have to do their bit. The phone goes both ways. Yeah, it's not my job just to send a signal. They need to absorb it and send stuff back. But ultimately, when they send stuff back, I can't read it very well. So I'm just going to see behavior. So here's my suggestion about reading body language is don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't bother, because your chances of getting it accurate are very, very low, simply because there's so many people out there. Once you get above 12 people in a room, on the whole, you can't individualize people anyway. They become kind of big clusters and groups. And because you get overwhelmed by the body language, you will default to negative. So a great example of that, and you'll have experienced this, Jane, is you're there speaking and somebody's got their device out and they're doing this. And what's your first thought?
Oh boy, they are communicating with home. I don't think that they're tweeting about my presentation. I probably think that they're just bored or doing something else.
Absolutely. So we default to a negative about us and about our ability, and we judge them around not doing what is the right behavior around our brilliance, because our stuff is brilliant and they're not doing the right thing around it. And we have no idea what's happening. We have no idea, but we did jump to a negative conclusion because when insufficient data, we default to negatives, or during overwhelm, we default to negatives.
Right.
So don't read the body language. Okay.
All right.
What I would say is just get together a great speech and a great performance and keep upgrading how good that is, and keep with that, keep interacting with them. Sure, if it feels like they want to go a certain way, or you're getting actual verbal indications from them, like, or clear indicators, like I have a question, like really clear stuff, then engage with that.
Listen.
But the minutiae of it, you're going to get completely wrong or negative, or you might get it right, but understand the real brilliant people at reading body language can't do it with a group like that.
Okay.
It's not possible.
Fair enough. So we've been talking mostly about Keynote so far. A lot of us do training. I do training. And there are times when I know that people they're processing. the information that I'm giving them. So what do we do if it looks like people are glazing over, or a lot of times I think maybe they're processing and they're not really disengaged. They're just kind of thinking about what it is that you've given them to think about.
Yeah. So again, you would, to really understand. So reading body language is just a bunch of assumptions.
Yeah.
It's just, the unfortunate thing is your assumptions can feel very, very real.
Mm-hmm.
They can feel so real that you believe that you're a mind reader and you have some superhuman powers of some sort.
Right.
Okay? It's just not going to happen. But you will feel like it's happening. So you'll look at somebody and you'll go, "Oh, I get it. They're thinking. They're cogitating something."
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, maybe that, maybe something else.
Right.
Like, how would you? So the key is to suspend your judgment. And I go through this in Truth and Lies. First step is suspend your judgment. Yeah, you can come back to it. Yeah, but put it to one side for a moment. Now take in the context. So you might think, okay, did I just give them a really difficult question, or one that takes more time?
Right.
Or was it a really simple question and now they've kind of glazed over and they're off somewhere, which means that could mean maybe they're thinking about something else, or maybe what I thought was a very simple question is actually quite a deep and difficult one to go through. Yeah. I then need to ask for more data, ask what else about the situation. So I might ask them, I might go, what do you before you carry on thinking about that question, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being least, 10 being most, how tricky do you think it is as a question? So I get them to give me some verbal feedback on how long they need to think about that. And then I test that. I test the assumption, or I come up with a new assumption. So I might bring back the old one. I get a new one with it, and then I test to see which one might be more accurate.
Yeah.
So I would be doing that. Now, the unfortunate thing is that can take a little bit longer. That can take a few seconds to a few minutes to do. And when you read body language, at an innate level, we're designed to spring into action around it. Oh, I know what you're thinking and feeling. Oh, you're angry, you're sad, you're upset, you're happy. I must do something. I must do something about that.
Right.
So we act at an instinctual speed rather than a thinking speed. We need to start not being so instinctual about the body language that we see. In areas like training people, in areas like giving a speech, where nobody's going to die. You're not in a life-threatening situation.
Right.
You can think a little bit longer. Yeah, sure. If you're you and I and we're alone in a dark car park late at night and there's nobody else around and we're approached by a stranger who wants to carry our bags and we get a weird feeling inside. Well, we're in a place now where we don't have potentially a lot of control. We don't have full control of the environment.
Right.
I'm going to pay attention to my instincts.
Sure.
But I'm not going to do that necessarily when I got 12 people in a room and I'm facilitating them through a very tricky thinking process.
Okay.
My instincts have no place there, I would say.
Fair enough. Okay. So I have some curiosities about your own speaking career, Mark. Tell us about what's been one of the really huge highlights for you of your career so far, standing in front of an audience.
Yeah, so the highlights for me, I mean, there are many, but it really comes across to me as the times when actually afterwards people send you an email, they drop you a note, and they go, yeah, that absolutely changed what I'm doing, and life is better now. I'm better at something. I'm getting better results. The thing of standing up and speaking in front of an audience, to tell you the truth, if I could get away without doing it, I wouldn't do it. It's a great way. It's a great channel. It's a great way of showing people, a big amount of people, your experience and delivering help.
Right.
It's a great channel for that. It isn't something that I go, oh, I'm great. I'm speaking today and I must get to that gig because it's going to be fantastic. No, on the whole, I'm going, why do I have to get out of bed today? Why can't they just send me the check? And I do nothing. Yeah. But I know that's not realistic. So I go and do it because it's a great channel, and I get as good as I can at delivering in that channel.
Yeah.
And the real payback is people going afterwards. I mean, it's fine. You know, people afterwards come up to you and they go, that was a great speech and we loved that and that was entertaining.
Yes.
But it was designed to do that. I mean, it's designed to make people, to remind people that they're alive,
right,
and entertain them and give them new content and shake their brain up. So I'm not surprised by that at all. What I am delighted by is when, after the fact, you know, many months afterwards, somebody says, I went and I did that, and it really worked, and I've got massive results out of that. That's really that's what speaking is about for me.
Nice. So your TED Talk obviously went well. Tell us a little bit about that experience, and where can people go to find it again? Let's mention that too.
Yeah, sure. So actually, if you want to see the talk, go to www.truthplane.com, TRUTHPLANE. That's my website, and it's kind of stuck up there clearly for everybody to see. You just look for those red letters, and you'll find me. But what was great about it was, well, actually getting to deliver this message about authenticity, and to, in a short amount of time, get across to an audience, you know, my beliefs at the time, which are still my beliefs now, which was that this idea of authenticity had become it had kind of got mixed up with ways of saying I don't like something, essentially. And that actually, and an idea of faking stuff had been demoted to something that you shouldn't do. And I personally didn't really want to live in a world where I can't be as much as I want to be and test out ideas about me, because somebody's going to go, well, that's not true. That's fake. You're pretending that. It's like, no, why shouldn't I? Why can't I pretend something? It's me pretending it.
Right.
It's me putting on the behavior. It's nobody else is doing it.
Right.
It's me. But yeah, I might be doing it badly, and you might not like it, but I'm having a go at trying to be the best I can. You know, stop demoting my experimentation.
Okay.
With this.
Oh,
and so I wanted to do a speech whereby I would clearly show the audience that I can put on behaviors, and some behaviors they'll really like, and they'll go, I really like this guy. He's very authentic. Love him. And some behaviors, which were actually more authentic for me, more true for me, they would dislike. They would dislike that, and how actually the authentic me was not potentially the nicest one to be around, not the most useful for them, certainly, and how they liked more the inauthentic me because it was better.
Wow. That is fascinating. Now I want to go and watch that TED Talk. I had just looked at it and I saw that there was an advertisement in front of it, so I knew it had been successful. And so I'm going to circle back and take a look at that. Mark, you have been just amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. And I really think that you've given people something very unique to think about. And what I'll leave us with is the idea of the intention behind what it is that you're doing. You know, I don't think you're really necessarily out to trick the audience. I think most people are coming at things from an authentic, a purposeful place.
Right. And authentic to their purpose. I have no problem about being authentic to your purpose. The problem I have with, but you have to put on behaviors that are already really yours. Oh, it's so boring. It's so boring.
So is there anything that we should say before we sign off with regards to body language? One final idea that you think might be important?
Well, you know, I think the main thing I want people to take away, especially those that are out there that are speaking, is really just work on that open body language.
Okay.
The more you can produce open body language, especially when you're feeling under threat, under pressure, under stress, the better you'll manage reading other people's body language and appreciating that, and also manage yourselves.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Mark Bowden. I appreciate you being with us. Go to truthplane.com plain.com if you would like to check out that TED Talk. And if you've enjoyed what you've been seeing on our podcast, please leave us a rating, leave us a comment so that other folks will know more about us. And with that, we'll say see you soon, Wealthy Speakers. Bye for now, everyone. Thanks for listening to the Wealthy Speaker Show. Please visit speakerlauncher.com for your free Wealthy Speaker audit, and visit speakerlauncher.com/podcast for show notes and many more resources to help you catapult your speaking business. See you soon, Wealthy Speakers.